Um, Alright, I've got skirt and ring 1 of the body that I've been primed and sanded. Down there I've got rings 2 and 3. Ring 2 has got Bondo glazing putty on it, that's why it's reddish. It's had one go over with sandpaper. I haven't cleared out all the panel lines of the glazing putty that got into it yet. I haven't done anything with ring 3. They just got some more storage bins in. I've been looking for them for a few weeks. They've been sold out. So in this storage bin, pretty much everything for the 2 legs can go in that one. It's a 54 quart storage bin. And over here, I've got the center leg parts, as well as some of the drive unit stuff for the outer legs. And again over here, dome parts, body greebles, the electronics, the TSIS lights for the dome, some dome pie pieces and hinges and things like that, and then some wasted misprints and stuff like that in the cardboard box, and then some hardware and the bolts and nuts in the cardboard box. What main things I've done this week? I have battery boxes. I printed the big half. I haven't printed the top half. And I printed one of the outer ankles. I'm printing standard length, not long. If you're going to do a 232 conversion, you want to print the long. Otherwise, you can print the standard. Or you can print the long if you're not sure if you're going to ever make your droid do a 232 conversion, and nobody will probably notice. The ankle files, there's 2 different versions. There's the with support, and then there's without support. I decided to print the one with support because Michael Baddeley designed it, and he designed the supports in. And I was having good luck with that, so it actually prints like this. It has supports under this front end that you break off after you're done printing it, and supports that go in here after you're done printing it. And if you can see, hopefully with the light in here, you can see that warped. And I also got warp on the bottom. Everything I print, even with helper discs and a brim, I get warp in the corner. I'm using glass bed and hairspray. And the brim and the helper disc that's outside of the model, you can tell when you pull it off, is perfectly shiny and smooth because it's sticking to the hairspray and the glass. But the corners of the model, anything large, this is going to focus on it. Anything large, it tends to warp on the bottom. The more annoying part was, because it prints like this, it fills this area, this hole that the leg slides into, with support. And for whatever reason, you can see that the top of the ankle there didn't stick to the support piece, and it warped up. So I'm going to have to, if I fill that with Bondo, and this is a strength load-bearing, Bondo's just going to probably break. So I'm thinking what I just have to do is just fill that with epoxy. Glue the leg piece in and just fill it with epoxy. I don't really want to print it again. This is a 40-hour print. I'm doing PLA plus. I believe I'm doing a 40% triangle infill with 5 perimeters. 40 hours. I don't really want to redo it. I think it'll be fine filling that with epoxy and the leg going in there. I've already put the leg piece in, and it fits in there really nice and snug, apart from that area that's warped there. So that was disappointing. So the other file has no support, and it loads into your slicer sideways. So I decided to go ahead and print that one. I added support in this area. People say you don't need it, and you might not. My printer could probably bridge that, but it would be messy for the first several layers, and again, I wanted it strong. So I actually added support inside that big hollow square where the leg goes, so the top would hopefully be straight and not as messed up as the top of this thing is. So that's one big heavy chunky piece. And here's the one that's obviously printing now. I am 30 and a half hours into it. Yeah, it's my last really big print, knock on wood, as long as I don't have to reprint something. There you can see that support material that I put in. That's where the leg goes, with this piece being printed on its side. What you do not want to do is print it so that that ankle pin hole there is up in the air. You don't want to do that because that will make the piece too weak because of the way the layers work. Like Michael Baddeley says, think of it as wood grain. You don't want the layers to be in this direction across the load-bearing area. So now I'm printing this piece with the layers in this direction, and the other one, the layers are in this direction. You just don't want them in this direction so it can like split like that. After this, I have the top of the battery boxes to print. I have all 3 foot shells, and that is pretty much small stuff. I haven't decided if I'm going to buy Vex wheels or make print Omni wheels. That's for the drive units, what he rolls on. I think it's like $200 to buy the Vex wheels. So I'm pretty sure it's cheaper to print them, although with my luck with the PETG not sticking on the bed, I don't know how my luck's going to go with TPU, a flexible filament. As a matter of fact, my Prusa printer that I was printing the PETG on is down again. I printed some parts for the hubs that I ended up not using, little cups that hold the bolts, and they printed great in PETG, and now I switched back to PLA, and it's acting like I've got a clogged nozzle, so maybe there's still some PETG in the nozzle. I ran quite a bit of PLA filament through at the PETG temperature to try and flush it all out, but I can't print PLA right now because it's acting as if there's something floating around the nozzle, and every now and then a layer will be too thin, and so you can just break the part in half with your fingers. So if I go over here, this is what's printing now. And if you can see this, I don't know if you can hear it crunching just with my fingers. I had an issue with my TiVo Tornado, and it really sucked because I had 2 spools of filament that had about 1/8 of an inch of filament. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to use it up, and then change to the other small roll, use all of that up, then change to a full roll. So I was up till 5 in the morning doing the 2 filament changes because it was about 4 hours worth of printing time each. And then somewhere around here, I think, is when I went to bed. And then after less than 4 hours, my extruder had a problem and wasn't pulling enough filament, and so it's toast. This is a load bearing, has to be a really strong piece, and that's the end of it. So that's 12.5 hours of printing down the drain. So not happy about that. The issue seems to be the Titan extruder on the TiVo, which right now, yes, that is an Allen wrench in one of the nuts and then blue taped down. That is the nut that holds the hobbed bolt, whatever they want to call it on this one, the tooth gear that grabs onto the filament and pushes the filament down that Bowden tube that ends up at the hot end. And if I tighten it, I'm getting a lot of clicking and sounds horrible. So I loosen it to the point where everything's running smooth, and then I could just sit there and watch, and the screw just unscrews itself in just a couple minutes. So I've got some kind of a problem going on with the extruder, and I was already again multiple hours into this print, and I did not want to pause it and try and figure out what's going on with this extruder. So I just figured this fix out, where that Allen wrench is in the screw, and then it's leaning up against the lead screw for the Z-axis so that it cannot unscrew. So that's a really nasty fix, but I didn't want to throw away another 12 or however many hours I was into it this time of plastic. So I came up with that temporary fix, and then when this piece is done, I'm going to have to take that extruder apart and figure out what the heck is going on. There's supposed to be a bearing. Looking online, it looks like there's a bearing above and below the tooth gear that grabs the filament, and it seems like maybe one of those bearings is no good. So when I tighten it, it doesn't spin. Or so that's my theory right now, but I looked online, and Amazon actually has the TiVo extruder plus the stepper motor for like $31. So that surprised me. I didn't know if I wanted to get just the same cheap TiVo version of the Titan extruder or get a real Titan extruder. I don't even want to think about it right now. I'm hoping I can fix it. Maybe it's just dirty in there. But that's my printing saga. The Prusa is down, and this has got some kind of extruder problem, but I'm getting so close to being done with the printing stage.